When you walk through a bustling taxi park on a Sunday morning in Uganda, you will often hear loud, joyous singing cutting through the noise. This is worship. It is the way we communicate our love and obedience to God. But that communication also happens in quiet, domestic moments, like bowing your head with your family to pray before sharing a meal of matoke and beef stew. Whether we are in a crowded public space giving thanks, or in our homes seeking protection, worship is how we connect our everyday reality directly to our Creator. Let's look at how we practice this connection. Imagine a traditional ikeo, a sweeping broom. If you pull a single palm bristle from it and bend it, it easily breaks. This single bristle represents private worship, the personal, direct communication with God you can do anywhere at any time. Now try to break the entire tied broom. It bends, but it holds firm. This is congregational worship. When believers gather together to share their faith, they form a supportive community. Private prayer gives you the necessary space for deep, personal honesty with God, but worshiping together provides a collective spiritual strength and moral support that a single person cannot easily generate alone. Many people assume worship only happens when we are inside a church building, raising our voices. While singing is a powerful way to celebrate, it is one form of a larger practice. This diagram shows that worship also requires disciplined, quiet action. We worship by fasting, going without food for a specific time to focus entirely on God. We also worship through quiet meditation, deeply reflecting on Scripture to understand His will. It also involves what we do with our physical resources. Giving an offertory, returning a portion of our money, goods, or time to the church, is a tangible act of gratitude. Worship is a holistic lifestyle. It encompasses how you spend your time, how you treat your body, and how you manage your resources. The way we perform these actions evolves. The early apostles typically gathered in their own homes, worshiping in small groups by praying together, breaking bread, and sharing their belongings. Today, in Uganda, the methods look quite different. We see large-scale night prayers and vibrant street preaching right in the middle of evening traffic. Modern churches use large electronic sound systems, and massive gatherings are led by leaders with specific titles, like pastor or prophet. But look closely. The core purpose, honoring God and sharing faith, is identical to what those early apostles did in their living rooms. The tools and titles change across generations, but the mandate remains. This devotion to a higher power existed long before outside influences arrived. Traditional African societies firmly believed in a supreme creator and maintained dedicated shrines and religious structures. This flowchart illustrates how they understood the spiritual hierarchy. They recognized God as the supreme being at the very top. However, they believed God was best approached through intermediaries, relying on their ancestors to carry messages between the living and the Creator. They saw God's presence in the physical world around them, directing their prayers and offering animal sacrifices under sacred trees or out in open nature. They had an organized cultural system for reaching God that formed the foundation for the faith we see in Uganda today. Let's test what we've covered. Look at these three scenarios: a student praying silently before an exam, a family offering a sacrifice at a shrine, and a group breaking bread in a home. How would you categorize each type of worship? The silent student practices private worship. The sacrifice is traditional African worship. Breaking bread reflects early congregational worship. In your exams, you might be asked to evaluate a statement like, "Congregational worship is better than private worship." To answer effectively, you need to look at the biblical evidence. According to Scripture, neither is entirely complete without the other. In Matthew chapter 14, Jesus goes up to a mountain alone to pray, modeling the necessity of private worship. But in Acts chapter 4, the apostles gather together to share resources, modeling the necessity of congregational fellowship. This table summarizes the core concepts. We have private worship for personal connection and congregational worship for community strength. We also see the historical evolution, from traditional African practices using intermediaries to apostolic house gatherings, all the way to modern practices like street preaching. Worship is a daily and active relationship. Whether studying for exams, helping a neighbor, or singing in a choir. Understanding these practices helps you build a more authentic connection with your Creator.